Let's talk more about the debate over the debates with Erin Doherty, politics reporter from Axios, up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Erin, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
A lot of us woke up this morning and saw the alerts and saw the video that President Biden was throwing the challenge down. And just as quickly as that came out, the Trump team said, game on. This came together in a very, very fast fashion.
Yeah, so it was sort of a whirlwind of a morning on the debate front. We went from sort of the presidential debates up in the air, whether they were going to actually happen this cycle, to in less than a few hours, President Biden and former President Trump committing to not only one debate, but two debates. So this morning, it started with a jab from President Biden saying that he wants to participate in a debate, but with specific terms, such as he wants it to be hosted by a news organization rather than the nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, which has hosted debates for decades now. Quickly, former President Trump accepted the offer, and then within hours, ABC News and CNN both reached out to the candidates with an invitation to debate, and we ended with on the schedule a June 27th debate and a September 10th debate.
Based on some of the parameters that the Biden campaign put out there, namely, we would accept a news organization that hosted a Democratic debate in 2016 and a Republican debate in 2020. It really pared down the possibilities there to as you mentioned, ABC, CNN, I think CBS was in the mix there as well, Telemundo. But what was interesting to me was he really said, this is what I'm going to participate under these parameters. And the Trump campaign could have easily called his bluff, called him scared, say you don't want to debate, but they really did. There clearly is something in it for them as well here.
Yeah, and so I think that from the Biden team's perspective, I think they sort of tried to put the Trump campaign into a bit of a pickle, because if the Trump campaign said that they didn't want to debate, then the Biden campaign could easily say that former President Trump was fearful of debating President Biden. So President Biden's team, by sort of putting this offer out there very publicly, sort of put former President Trump's campaign into a bit of a corner. And obviously, former President Trump has said that he is excited to debate President Biden this cycle. In fact, in a later memo this afternoon, he said that he wants to host debates every month, basically until the election. So he responded kind of forcefully in response. But I do think that the Biden campaign, by getting out there first and setting the parameters that they want to debate in, sort of forced former President Trump's hand.
There has been some blowback to the Biden campaign from the right, namely pushing the Commission on Presidential Debates out of the picture here. But if you look back a year or two ago, the RNC had said they were done with the Commission on Presidential Debates as well. They wanted to opt out of that. So it seems as though both parties, if they're united in one thing, is that we don't need this commission to tell us how to debate.
Right. And so that was sort of the storyline that emerged out of 2020. The Biden campaign to this day continues to be upset with the commission for how they ran the debates in 2020, saying that they allowed former President Trump to flout the rules on the coronavirus pandemic. And as you mentioned, obviously, the Republican National Committee has had a very sort of public feud with the commission. So going forward, this nonpartisan commission that has, again, hosted debates since 1988, their role in the sort of presidential election process is uncertain. But I guess, at least for the voters' perspective, it does seem like there will at least be debates this cycle.
And you mentioned that June debate. That is really early. That's before the conventions, which we have not seen a debate. I think they usually start in September, if that. But then you have to remember, we're in an era now where there are people already casting, or maybe not at this point, but they may very well be casting general election votes by mail or absentee ballot in the early parts of the summer.
Right. And I think it's also sort of the President Biden's campaign suggestion for a very early debate, historically speaking, I think is also sort of an implicit acknowledgement that there is some polling out there that shows that President Biden is trailing former President Trump. And so by having this debate early in the cycle, they kind of are able to get President Biden out there. And to voters who may not be paying attention, it sort of brings to their attention that this presidential election is happening. It's around the corner. And here are the two candidates.
Indeed, they are. And of course, I'm sure Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will have something to say about that, because it's clear that the Biden campaign doesn't see him in the picture for the debates, as we've not seen independent candidates in the picture for debates for the last several election cycles. Erin, I got to leave it at that. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much. You too.
And I'm sure we'll be talking about this or something else with you very soon. Final Five is back right after this.